Hi guys, it's Haley.
And me.
He's talking again. Last time you saw us, he was not talking and we were a little bit down, but we are back and moving forward, which makes me happy.
So after the last time we were on and talked about the failed cycle, we had a appointment with our fertility doctor, and she laid out some options if we wanted to move forward with another cycle. She laid out 3 options for us to that we could do, and then after those options, she said that she had spoke with my urologist and that he wanted to see me and he could go over options on his end if we want to move forward with another cycle, what he could assist with. So she laid out 3 options, and then we kind of added 2 more options. So Haley wanted to write them down on a piece of paper and put them up somewhere, that way she can visually just see them written down and just remember the details of each one, because there's a lot of information for each option and easily to get confused. So that's why they're written on the paper, and she tacked them on the wall behind us.
Living room wall.
Yeah.
I believe in pro-con lists, and not that it gives me any control over the situation at all, but I feel like I have some control if I write things down and I make a pro-con list. So each option has...
She's taking over now, so there you go.
Whoops, sorry. So there's option 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and each one has a plan at the top. Each one has a pro-con list. Each one has a cost section, and it's overwhelming. But we'll walk you through our options that we've laid out that our doctors laid out for us and that we've laid out for ourselves.
So obviously the first cycle that we did, it was really, I mean, people go through that exact same thing we just did, and they're able to get pregnant and everything like that. So I mean, it works. It just didn't work for us this time. So the first option would be to try that again. She doesn't want us to try that one again because it didn't work the first time. It probably won't work the second time because of just the quality of the sperm that we have to work with. So, but she just wanted to throw everything on the table, and so option 1 is do everything we just did, but neither one of us agree that we should, so that's kind of out the window. Option 2 would be to do an IVF cycle again, but this time do a biopsy on me on the day of the egg retrievals. It's called
TESE. TESE.
Basically, when they put her under for the egg retrieval, they take me back, or I go before, and they go in and retrieve the eggs with the needle or.
They don't retrieve your eggs. You don't have eggs.
Retrieve the sperm with whatever technique that they do. Looked it up.
Don't YouTube it.
Yeah, we looked it up. It's not worth watching.
We couldn't escape out of the video fast enough. So,
but that way, that procedure, people might be familiar with it. Other ones, people may not know about it. But either way, they're able to go in there and they go straight to the sperm and pull it out without it having to go through all the different channels to get out, which could damage it. And which could be the issue, but we don't know. So it could provide better quality sperm, or it couldn't. We won't know until they do it. So that's kind of tricky because we won't know until they do it, but we will already be towards the end of the cycle, the IVF cycle, before we find out, which is a lot of time, a lot of money and emotions and stuff like that. So
physically hard.
Yeah. So that's option 2, is do the IVF cycle, and then with the biopsy on me. And then option 3, she gave would be to do IVF cycle, do the biopsy on me, but then have donor sperm there also. That way, whatever eggs they get from her, they could fertilize half the eggs with my sperm and the other half with donor, or a third with the donor sperm. So that's the option that she gave. I personally don't like that. I don't want to do that. It's, yeah. So just I don't like that option. So I'm not a big fan. I don't want to do that for personal reasons and stuff. So yeah.
And I understand that. I told him if I put myself in his shoes and it was with eggs, I'm not sure I would be comfortable getting donor eggs. I think I'd want to go to adoption first, but since it's the other way around, I'm more open to it because it's not me, so I have to put myself in his shoes, and I definitely understand where he's coming. And we would never do anything that only one of us is comfortable doing unless we're both on board 100%. We're not moving forward. So option number 4.
Option 4 would be to go overseas, like a lot of people do, because the prices are so much cheaper. But that entails a whole different aspect of stuff. Which clinic do you go to? How are they regulated? What are their success rates? Which country to go to? What's going on in the country right now? Just a lot of stuff. We have friends that are headed to Ukraine to do a cycle.
Pause. Okay, let's tell our friends. We can put the doorbell. So we just had a ding-dong ditch by my mother, who we're calling out. Apparently, she brought Girl Scout cookies, but rang the bell and bolted. That's the word I was thinking for. Busted. That doesn't even make sense.
Hey, 10 minutes.
Thanks, Mom.
Cool.
Not that I need them. Alright, so we have friends going to Ukraine.
Yeah, so friends going to Ukraine, they're from Ukraine, so they have family there, so it's a little bit easier for them to go over there. But then, just the other day, there was military conflict. I think it was like Eastern Ukraine that they were talking with Halie about. So, I mean, it's just, you look at which country, and that's a whole different, a lot of different stuff you got to look at and things you need to be aware of, and logistically it's a nightmare trying to figure everything out.
Yeah.
So, but people do it. A lot of people do it, and it's successful for a lot of people. And I don't know. That's an option though. So, yeah.
Option number 5.
Option 5 would just to not do a cycle right now, and we could go straight to adoption if we want to do that. Or if we tried another cycle and it doesn't work, do we do adoption then? So adoption's always there. We could always do it. I think that we want to keep trying IVF, because there's still hope. It just takes one, and there's still things we can do for that to work, for us to have our own kids. But adoption's always a possibility.
I think I would be open to it after I know that we explore and exhaust all of our options to having our own kids, and knowing that we have this option to do the biopsy, which might work. I feel like I wouldn't be comfortable moving forward with adoption until we try that.
Yeah.
Close all the doors, and then we can move on if we need to. So then I just had to write everything down, how much we've spent so far. We have in our bank account a BPMF account, Baby Pal Making Fun. And then how do we pay for any option, a list of ideas, how we could pay for things. Yeah, this is expensive.
So then when we had seen our fertility doctor, she kind of laid out those 3 options, and we went and saw my urologist the next day, and he kind of agreed that would go down that road for the biopsy for if we decided to do another cycle. So that's kind of the general plan, is if we decide to do another cycle, is do the IVF, the biopsy, and no donor sperm. So, and then we would see how that is. So just trying to figure out if that's the right path for us to go, I guess, right now. So we went.
I'll preface this with, I love our infertility doctor. Love her. She's amazing. Love the staff. But this is expensive, and I feel like once you've spent this much money and you know you have like one option left to having your own kids, if anybody from the clinic is watching, I just felt like getting a second opinion. Like, would they do anything in a second cycle differently? So it doesn't hurt. Our urologist does work closely with another doctor in San Antonio that we met, a YouTube friend, hi friend, that goes to her, and I just wanted to see what she would have to say. You know, here's our cycle, this is what happened, what are your thoughts? So I asked our urologist if he could get us in quickly to her, because last time it was going to take a while when we were first shopping around at clinics. He said he would text her. Well, she's only one building over from his office. So I told this guy, I was like, let's just go in the office and show up and try to make the appointment, because I can't put you on hold when you're in person. So we go up there, and the receptionist goes to the back, and she comes and she says, oh, they were actually on the phone. Can you come in tomorrow at 10 a.m.? Which was awesome. It was 2 appointments we got that were made the next day. We made the appointment for the urologist, got in the next day. For infertility doctor, got in the next day. So we really loved her. We don't love one more than the other. We love them both. They both went through IVF to have their babies, so they get it, which makes them relatable, and I appreciate that. One thing that was super encouraging is she said she wouldn't have done a single thing different in our first cycle. So we did everything right. She did the same thing our first doctor would have done. So that was really encouraging. So we'll just consider it an expensive trial run. So her plan would be, I had never heard of this before, but because I had one large follicle in my first cycle, they have what they can do. It's called estrogen priming. So basically this entire IVF cycle would take like 3 months to complete. So like the first month you start your cycle and you do estrogen priming. So it's taking an estradiol pill, and then you add in an injection for 3 days. It's the antagonist injection. It's the same thing as Cetrotide, but they use something else at their office, but basically the same thing that we used last time, which is Cetrotide. So that and the estradiol pills. And then when you start your next cycle, so month 2 is when you start stimming, and she would start my medication way higher. So when I was at the end of my cycle, last time I was taking 225 IUs of Gonal and Menopur, she would start somewhere between 450 and 600, just to be super aggressive. She said the estrogen priming can sometimes slow down the way that your follicles are created or whatever. So being on more medicine and being aggressive would help us make more. And his doctor said, you know, if we do this and we do the biopsy, they really do need like 30 to 40 eggs to work with, and not 13 like we got last time. So gotta make 30 to 40 eggs. So month 2 is stimming and then egg retrieval and biopsy the same day, which we would need a babysitter because we're both gonna be out. And then they fertilize the eggs, go through that whole process. Hope we make it to getting some embryos that are blastocysts, and then we would get the PGS testing done. So that's basically, now we're into month 3, and if we have some good ones, start working on trying to transfer. So it'd be a 3-month process, which is a lot longer than what this first cycle took, but we really liked her plan. So now it's just a matter of figuring out finances and how do we move forward, when do we move forward. But as long as we're moving forward, I'm okay. It's like when we stand still is when I like freak out.
And I tried to get her to stand still in a way. After all the bad news and everything, I told her, you know, we're gonna take a weekend off, not try to worry about anything. And
then this happened.
And all that. And she was doing this. I was looking at online at all these different websites, and so we try to take a pause, but it was just hard not to because just okay, what's next? What can we do next? What can we do to make this happen? And we just wanted to keep the ball rolling. Well, keep the ball rolling, but like also we needed a break, so it was kind of hard to balance the two, and then continue with everything else that's going on in life and stuff like that. So it's hard to not think about this stuff, but then you wanted to because you just don't want to forget about it. And anyway, so.
And for me, I feel like I had asked her first infertility doctor, give me a timeline, doc. I need to know what we're working with, like with how I produce follicles and what we're up against with him. I need to know, like, can we try in a year, 2 years? Like, do we have time to save money? And she said, all I'm saying is I wouldn't wait 2, 3, 4 years to try. So knowing that we really do need to try soon makes it hard for me to sit still. I'm like, okay, let's figure it out, and whatever it's going to take, let's get this process started, especially if it's going to take 3 months to get through. So that's what we've been up to. So that's our big update. I want to thank everybody for all your comments and messages and emails. I know we didn't respond to half of them. We didn't respond to so many of them, but we read all of them, and all your love is just, I say it all the time, but just so overwhelming, and it's just so nice to have a community of people that actually get this, because not a lot of people get it. So, your love is appreciated. So lastly, we have made some friends through YouTube that have gone overseas, and we won't name them, but they're overseas and they're in the middle of their cycle. They actually just went through their egg retrieval. She had quite a few follicles, only 3 were mature eggs, which we know how disappointing that can feel and how hard it can be, and then having to walk through the next 5 days of getting your updates, how are your embryos doing, and those were the longest 5 days. We had to wait till day 7 until we found out that we didn't have any. Those were the longest 7 days. That week lasted forever. I thought it was never going to end, and it was just so hard waiting for those phone calls and then getting the phone call and trying to be hopeful and then just knowing bad news was coming. I don't know. It was a hard week for us, so we know what they're going through, and they're in another country, which makes it hard because they're away from home. So if you can send your love and your prayers and your good vibes their way, I know they definitely need it. And maybe you can share them some love in our comments below, and hopefully they will read that and feel encouraged. So if you haven't already, you should totally subscribe to our channel. We've got all these options. We think we've picked an option, but we don't know when we're going to move forward. We will hopefully make some decisions soon, and we are definitely walking our way through the next cycle. So I even told the infertility doctor that we just saw that we're vlogging our way, and we actually met one of her patients, and she was like, oh, you're doing that? Yep. The camera will be with us. So. Yep. Alright, that's it. See you in the next video, guys.